Hey everybody, it's roughly 7 p.m. Central on Wednesday. Welcome to the Hang Up. I'm Matt Dillahunty. There's a lot going on this week, and I haven't paid attention to much of it at all. I found out that Ukrainian President Zelensky is in D.C. speaking with President Biden in Congress and making an appeal, and I haven't been able to hear any of that because I spent all day running around picking up wood to build stuff and everything else. I know that a lot of people in the audience aren't going to be doing much of anything this weekend, despite the fact that it is Christmas for some people and other holidays for other people. I'm mostly going to be hanging out with you guys. Actually, we're going to do an episode of the Sunday show. I thought that I was going to be driving to Tulsa, Oklahoma to pick up 4 new snakes, but that fell through. And so we're going to stay here and we are going to build. That's funny. That's was my phone ringing by somebody who should know that I'm on the air, but doesn't. So I hope it's not too important. We're going to be building a new rat enclosure, but that's not what any of this is about. I will get all the announcements for upcoming shows and all that stuff from Jimmy as we move along. But a couple of weeks ago, somebody asked me, is crypto a religion? And I was like, that seems silly to me. And then they sent me a link of like a motivational crypto guru standing on stage, clearly preaching a sermon about how those people who were going to be investing in crypto, this was about them and what they were going to do and how they were going to change the world and how they were essential. What you're going to do is going to change this and you're going to change the dynamic and all this. And I can't remember all the crap they said, but it was absolutely a sermon that was an advertisement. Now, I get it. There's a lot of self-help bullshit artists out there that I've watched over the years. They get up and they tell people that, hey, you're living your life wrong and I can tell you how to live your life better. And they do motivational stuff and they're always selling a million things. And I've never really fallen in with any of them, but I understand people do. And the people who do, by the way, are not stupid. Anybody can be duped given the right circumstances. But then Trump came out with his NFT trading cards. And yes, I'm aware crypto and NFT aren't the same thing. But in my book, they might as fucking well be. They are two things that I do not grasp. I don't see the appeal of. I view them both as absolute scams, and I could be wrong. But I don't know if it actually qualifies as a religion or a cult or anything like that. But I could certainly see how people might build something like a religion around it. And since I don't know shit and definitely don't know enough about this, I brought in Phil Ferguson to talk about crypto, NFT, and what's a scam and what's not, and whether or not it's a religion. Phil, by the way, is the host of the amazingly named Phil Ferguson Show, and is the are you the CEO? Or are you the sole whatever of Polaris Financial Services?
Yeah, I'm the only one.
He's it. He is Polaris Financial Services.
Yeah, I've worked with other people in the past. I've decided not to do that again. So yeah, it's Polaris Financial Planning. You can go to the shitty ass website, polarisfinancialplanning.com. You can find me on Facebook, maybe on Twitter. I'm not sure.
I literally had it typed up, Polaris Financial Planning, PFP, and still said service.
That's all right. It's all good, man. It's all good.
So how are you doing? And is crypto a religion?
Yeah, it was funny. I was going to start by saying that everything you just said was wrong. No, I'm just kidding. Everything is wrong. Is it a religion? Yeah, I guess it depends on your definition of a religion. I think you could have a reasonable argument starting from the point that it's a religion and making the other person kind of defend it. I think what may be better is a self-deluding Ponzi scheme. Something akin to I really love the Emperor's New Clothes as an analogy, because when I first started hearing about crypto and Bitcoin and all these other things, the people who are the most adamant were some of the people believed to be very smart, the smartest. And this is like the story of the Emperor's New Clothes, that only people who are unqualified, only people who aren't smart enough can't see the magic fabric. So if you don't understand crypto, you haven't looked into it. And it was, everything was somebody pushing it, promoting it, selling it, trying to convince you to get into it because the way crypto goes up in value is if more investors, get involved, and it pushes up the price. And I can even ask a very simple question, and maybe someone's screaming at us now when I say this, or they're going to want to call in. I'll ask somebody, if Bitcoin has a value, if Bitcoin has a utility to it, it's a useful thing for some reason, and maybe you could defend that that's true. Does it get any better at doing its job when it's $60,000 a coin versus $16,000 a coin? I think it's just as effective or not effective at one price or the other. And of course, the classic problem, and why the U.S. really hasn't cracked down on this stuff yet, is it an investment or is it a currency? It's kind of neither. I think maybe I would say not an investment at all, but a shitty currency, really shitty currency. Of course, I'll get people saying, Phil, I put in $10,000 and I made $100,000. Doesn't that make it a good investment? And I said, if you go to the racetrack and you bet on a horse that pays 10 to 1 and you put down $10,000, and after the race, the horse won, you get $100,000. Is that an investment? I said, no, that's gambling. I go, well, okay, well, so you now just agreed that your point of having more money at some point later in time versus a lower amount of money in an earlier time doesn't necessarily make something an investment at all. It could be a bet.
Yeah,
it could be a gamble. It could be luck.
I've never been good. You know me. I've never been good with money. I've never been good at investments, and I stayed away from them largely. As a matter of fact, the biggest investments I'm making, not to make this all about snakes, because Aron's going to be on next week for essentially the snake show, because we're both obsessed.
Nice.
But the biggest investment I've made is business-related expenses with respect to breeding snakes, and it's picking out which snakes are going to be producing the most desirable offspring that might make a profit. That's as close as I get to figuring out investment. When it comes to crypto, I have no idea. I remember people trying to sell me probably 15, 16 years ago, silver coins that they were saying this is a new alternate currency, and we would go out to dinner at places.
I know what you're talking about.
And they'd be like, they'd try to pay their bill in them, and if they wouldn't, then they just use real money, and if they would, then they would offer them these silverish coins. I don't know what that was, but it always felt weird to me. But the problem is, it feels weird to me because I'm someone who has never investigated that stuff and just accepts our current fiat money system. So for me, I've bought into the notion that this dollar bill here has value, just like everybody else. But in that case, it's backed up by the government that we're all paying taxes to, and all that stuff.
Right.
Is of these, and it's like every day or for a while, it seemed like every day there was a new cryptocurrency, and they're all, as far as I can tell, backed by nothing and no one. And it's like, hey, go ahead and invest, because if you and I can convince other people that this is worth something, we'll make money.
Yeah, there's specifically with Bitcoin, because that's the grand poobah of everything. Every promise that I've ever heard about Bitcoin, why it's a good thing, it all turns out to be false. One of them is it's easy to understand. No, it's not. It's easy to trade. Well, it turns out, no, it's not. I mean, if you've really spent the time and effort on it, it's easy to trade, but it's not like me moving money from one bank account to another bank account. That's easy. And there's so many ways that you can move money today with different apps. You don't even need the crypto coin. They'll say it has limited supply because a fiat currency has unlimited supply. The government can always print more. Well, I don't see that as a bug in the system. I see that as a feature. So if we're getting into a recession or something, the government can put a little bit more money in to try to juice up the system so we don't have a recession. And when things get going too high and there's a little bit of inflation, you can shrink the money supply, which is actually what the United States is doing, but yet Bitcoin keeps growing. The funny thing is that the total crypto market was about 3 trillion. And I just pulled this up for the show here. I can look at this. The total crypto market as of today is 810 million. So it's lost, 65% of its value, something like that in total. And the next thing that's interesting is out of the top 6 largest cryptocurrencies by market cap, 3 of them are dollar coins, or coins that are pegged to the US dollar. So their goal is to be worth $1 today and worth $1 always. And I was like, well, if I'm going to deal with something that's always worth $1, why don't I just use $1? But 3 of the top 6
that's not an investment. That is literally,
no, yeah.
It is, I'm going to give you $1 and I will always get back $1.
Yeah. And you could take dollars. So let's see, what's the biggest one here? USD coin. It's worth $1. So if it says its market cap is 44, that's millions, billion, $44 billion in this US dollar coin, what's it backed by? And they'll say, well, we hold that much money, US dollars, in reserve. Really? You're sitting on $44 billion of US cash and just doing nothing with it? Are you? And we've had several currency stable coins. What's that?
Who's sitting on it?
Well, and that's a great freaking question. Whoever is the sponsor of the coin. We've had a few cases in the past year of other stable coins, is what they call them. They've had a few stable coins where it turns out they're worth theoretically $44 or $50 billion. And then someone finds out that, oh, wait, they're not holding any reserves, or they're only holding 10% of the reserves to back that statement up. And so the value collapses. And the value collapses. This is really funny, I think. The stable coins collapse in value because it was deemed that there wasn't sufficient funds to back up the claims of what its value is actually worth. But then when you go to Bitcoin, the whole purpose of it is that there is nothing on reserve to back up its value. So the ones that didn't have sufficient or 100% backing collapsed, but something that like Bitcoin and Ether that have no backing of any kind, and they've promised no backing of any kind, that hasn't fallen yet. At least, I mean, it's fallen some, but it's still out there. So but it's funny, the stable coins take up a larger and larger percentage. Yeah.
Isn't there a problem here? Because what pops up in my head, and my head as somebody who's been doing magic forever and studying all kinds of other scams and stuff forever, it goes immediately to perpetual motion. There's no way we're going to have a perpetual motion machine. And so if you want a crypto dollar that stays even with the dollar, and somebody is sitting on $40 billion in actual dollars to back up this $40 billion in virtual coins, that 44 or 40, we'll just call it 40 billion, that 40 billion that's there, you have to store that somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even if you only pay $1 a year to store and secure that, then by definition, that means your $40 billion is now 39 billion, blah, 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 minus one. And won't that always accumulate?
Bitcoin has its own process that we could really get into painful detail with, and I don't know how the US dollar coins like Tether and USD coin someone starts them. But like you said, one of the things I always look at a business is, how do they make money?
Yeah.
How does a USD coin, the person who's running that, make money? And you say, well, nobody's running it. Well, then who's holding the reserve, or is there no reserve? Because then we're back to the same point where everyone says it's $1 until they don't. And so it's a fiat currency again, because instead of the government saying it's worth $1, it's just a bunch of dudes in their basements on computers saying it's worth $1. And when they change their opinion, it's not worth $1 anymore. So that doesn't solve problems that crypto are supposed to solve. It just always keeps getting worse. The 8th largest, by the way, is Dogecoin.
Yeah.
And that one was.
I got a Dogecoin fan in here.
Oh, well, maybe they can tell us why, because I don't see it. But Dogecoin was started as an intentional joke. You can also, my favorite, Matt, and it goes perfect with your shirt and almost mine too. Mine's a little bluer than purple. There's a Grimace coin.
Nice.
Like the character from McDonald's cartoon
yes.
commercials.
That
And what
I
happened,
resemble when I put my purple
yeah,
hat or hold on over the top of this.
I think it was the world's biggest media whore, attention whore, Elon, who at some point said, I can't wait for McDonald's to start accepting cryptocurrency. And the McDonald's official account responded back, yeah, maybe we should make a Grimace coin. And someone saw that and went out and registered a Grimace coin and sold 1 million Grimace coins for like $1 a piece, scooped up $1 million, and Grimace coin still exists, but it's worth a fraction. And I think the last time I looked at it, just for laughs, it had a $900 trading day, but it'll still show, something like $1 million of market cap, but it trades $100 a day. So what most of that is, what most of these coins are, is they're hanger-oners. They just still exist. They have a theoretical market cap because someone paid $1 for one, and there's 1 million issues. So now it's worth $1 million. No, it's not.
I mean,
You're not going to find someone with $1 million.
I get some of that stuff because there's collectibles market. So, for example, I play Magic the Gathering, and I have since beta, and I have a bunch of actual physical decks. But I have a physical card here that has some value, and that value goes up and down. So, but it's always in dollars, or actual currency that we're doing it with. But how are cryptocurrencies different from NFTs? Because one of the things that people told me, is like, oh, the difference with NFT is that you actually own something. I'm not convinced that you do, but it's like a virtual Magic the Gathering card.
Yeah, you got it. It's a fine line of distinction that may not be worth our discussion of it, but there it is. A cryptocurrency, and of course, one of the things that's really weird is every cryptocurrency can be different and have different rules, and it can be controlled in different ways, which are hopefully non-centralized. But now you have cryptocurrencies that are centralized, like there's Binance, which is now the largest exchange now that FTX is out of the way. And it had talk about magic trick, Matt. Make 8 billion disappear. Go. Absolutely staggering. Just poof, the money's gone. And their excuse was, we didn't lose 8 billion. It was an accounting error. Well, where's the 8 billion? Well, we don't know. You didn't make it better. You just made it worse. But Binance is now the biggest current crypto exchange, and there's a Binance coin, which they run, so it's centralized. They control it. And there's a Binance US dollar coin. They're 5 and 6 on our list, by the way, of the biggest crypto coins. So you have the exchange creating the coins that you use to buy and sell on their exchange. When FTX went broke, many other companies halted trading, also went broke, because a lot of these companies all owe each other money. And like Bitcoin was supposed to be decentralized. It's just going to be everybody in the whole world has access and control of this. It's not centralized. Well, last I looked, something like 42% of all Bitcoins are owned by a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of 1% of the world's population. So it's more concentrated than US dollars are. Well, okay, so it didn't solve that problem. I don't know. It's just wacky. Absolutely wacky. Oh, difference between NFTs. Yeah, it's a fine line. With NFT, non-fungible tokens, you're supposed to get the rights, I guess, to something that is unique, but you could do a screenshot. I guess it's like if you took a photograph of the Mona Lisa and made that into an NFT, someone could take a picture of your picture, but they wouldn't have your picture. It'd be a little different, some kind of degradation or quality loss, taking a picture of a picture. You would have the only picture of the picture. I don't know. It sounds like turtles all the way down. It's tokens all the way down. It's
one of the things is that Trump's NFTs sold out. Sold out really quickly, like in a day. And then the price climbed over the next couple of days. And since then, it has dropped more than 70%.
Oh my God. I hadn't even thought about market. What did it go to?
Let's see. trading volume fell 57% from Sunday to Monday, while the floor price for the NFTs has dropped 74% since the Saturday peak. And right now they're selling for I can't tell when this was, but it was like $680 a piece. But Monday, the trading dropped 57% to about $836,000 worth of Ethereum, I think. These things are so it was the total volume was almost 2 million for the day, and then it dropped down to 836,000, which I think puts it under the original million.
Well, I think the original sales prices were
$99.
$45,000, so it's like 4.5 million.
So the project has racked up more than $8.7 million worth of secondary trades, which means a whole bunch of people bought them for 99 and then sold them for 1,000. And then the people who bought them for 1,000 can't unload them for anything higher. And so the prices drop back down to where they're like worth 4 or 5 times. I don't know. The numbers I'm seeing here don't make sense.
I'm trying to figure it out myself as we go, but I'm probably not going to get it either. There's an investing idea called the greater fool. It doesn't matter what you pay for something as long as you can sell it to a greater fool at a higher price.
Yeah.
And if there's a limited supply of 44,000 NFTs of Trump, and more than that number of people want to buy them, the price will go up. But it's meaningless. I mean, it's I don't know. It's just wacky. Of course, there's all the allegations of potential money laundering because they limited people to $9,900 in purchases, and there's also supply. It's just kind of like we learned this a few years ago. A relative died with Hitler stamps, postage stamps from Germany from World War II. And you look at this sheet of stamps, and you're like, "Oh my God, these are Hitler stamps. They got to be worth something." And turns out they're worth like 12 cents for a whole sheet. Because at the end of the war, they printed these things in the millions, and most people don't really even want to collect them because it's Hitler. So there's no supply. I mean, there's a lot of supply and there's no demand. So collectibles might be a good analogy for some of these things, as long as there's more people that want to buy and own them and are willing to pay higher prices. And of course, you also get the trick where if 44,000 people bought these Trump NFTs, and only 5 people want to sell them, and 1,000 people want to buy from those 5 people, that's the market price. That's the market price. There is a transaction. Poof, that's the market price. Doesn't mean they're worth much necessarily, because once the people that bought them, nobody else wants them.
Yeah, it's like I think one of the things that confuses me is that correct me if I'm wrong, there are no cryptocurrencies or NFTs that are traded on any of the stock markets.
That's my understanding. Yes, you have to go to a crypto exchange, and those are, well, you can go to a crypto exchange, or I think at least with Bitcoin, you can do transactions between one person and another, where you transfer money from your wallet to another wallet. And that's one of the ideas of not having an exchange or a big boss kind of person or a government controlling it. It's all between individuals, and it's all recorded in the ledger. So to make it like really simple, if I lend you $10, we both get a sheet of paper and it says Phil lends Matt $10. I write that, you write that, we match, we look, and we both agreed that I gave you $10. And that's the ledger. You could kind of say it's the blockchain, and in this block, there's only one transaction. That's it. And we close it up, and now 2 or 3 other people want to play in our little game, and we can hand money back and forth to each other. And we say, and we start writing down more on that ledger. And after you get to 5 or 10 transactions, you just say, we're going to make another block. And now that's fixed. And I don't have to rely on you having the ledger, because I have a ledger, and this 3rd and 4th and 5th person have a ledger, and all these people have a distributed ledger that say, no, Matt, you might say you don't owe Phil $10, but everyone else agrees that you do. And so that's kind of like a blockchain technology, but you can do that without having Bitcoin. So
there's some other stuff that I kind of want to get to, but We got two callers here, but also I'm being told that there's a guy in chat who says that neither one of us know what we're talking about, and his name's Doug. Doug, why won't you call in? Just call in. We're open to being corrected or educated or whatever. If you've got some data or facts, I've already acknowledged that I'm an idiot on this.
Yeah.
I'd rather not. I've got PTSD from Iraq. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. But
when I first did a double show for my podcast, the Phil Ferguson Show, I think it was 5 years ago, I did a double hour-long, 2 hours in total on Bitcoin, and I would get emails like that where they would say, Phil, everything you said was wrong, which is why I was joking about with that at the beginning. And I said, I don't think I could talk for 2 hours and get everything wrong or everything right if my life depended on it. There'd be something I accidentally got wrong or I accidentally got right. For 2 hours, I talked about a subject. And so I said, okay, I can't respond to this bogus claim that I got everything wrong. Give me one specific thing that I can research. And they would never respond. And funny that we got to this point because this makes it more like a religion. You used to talk to people about religion, and you probably still do. And sometimes they're like, well, you just don't understand the Bible. Okay, well, explain it to me. And then they can't. And they're like, well, you just have to believe. Okay, well, if that's how crypto works, great. I don't want to play that game.
I'm frequently told that I don't know what I'm doing. And I guess, Doug, stop talking in chat about this and everybody leave Doug alone, because I'm not going to go after somebody who says they've got PTSD, although I have no idea why that would stop somebody from calling into a show to talk about crypto. But whatever reason you're going to give for not wanting to call in, that means you need to just fucking drop it. Because one thing I don't allow here from anybody, and the mods will back this up, is if you're going to sit there and talk shit about me or my guest in chat or say we're wrong, but fail to call in, you'll be lucky if I don't ban you, because that is absolutely some cowardly shit that I will not tolerate. It's really easy to say, oh, these guys are stupid. They don't know what you're saying. Well, I wouldn't call in because you just hang up on me. Whatever. I hear that all the time. And the show's called The Hang Up because, yes, I'm famous for hanging up on people. You know who gets hung up on? People who don't argue honestly. But so, yeah.
It's a funny thing. And I hadn't even gotten into it. Of course, since Bitcoin is nearly half of the entire crypto market, I've lost track. There's probably now 20,000. And this is something I'm just saying, and I'm probably wrong, but I know it's tens of thousands or more than 10,000 crypto coins that are out there. And when I talk to a crypto aficionado, they'll say, well, most of those are what is called shit coins. And I said, well, we agree on 99.9% of all crypto coins are shit. But you think there's a handful that are valuable. Why? Why can you think that 99.9% of them are worthless, but this fraction isn't worthless? And you've probably heard the stories about Bitcoin and the phenomenal amount of energy that it takes to mine Bitcoin. And the more people that mine it, the more it costs to mine it. That's an inherent part of the system. And man, I know you did computer stuff. You did computer code and networking, and in previous life, Bitcoin is inversely scalable. So the bigger it gets, the more people that use it, the more processing you have to run in a geometric fashion. It will suffocate under its own mass if it ever actually takes off, because you can't do the transactions in a timely manner. At some point they were using like 3 or 4% of the world's energy, and they go, oh, what portion of the world's energy do banks use? I don't fucking know, but it's probably more than Bitcoin, but it's way more transactions that are meaningful to people all around the world than what Bitcoin is. And we just don't need to do it that way. We don't need to have the proof of work concept. It doesn't work. And I don't know, just every time I look at it, it just seems stupid. It's like when I read the Bible. Every time I go and look in something, I go, it's stupider and stupider. The more I know about it, the more I hear about it, the more I look at it. And all I get is someone saying, everything you're saying is wrong. Okay, well, give us one thing and maybe we can look it up. But I don't know. I guess I should. Oh, I did launch, Matt. Did you know I launched a Phil coin?
Yes.
Yes. I launched a Phil coin, and I took a picture of a penny and I put it up on Facebook. And the penny is not a Phil coin. That's a very common misunderstanding because not everybody's smart enough to understand the value of a Phil coin. But the penny was simply a physical manifestation of the Phil coin. So if you want a Phil coin, anyone that's listening, if you want a Phil coin, I will sell you one. The original offering price was $20,000, but now on the Phil exchange, there was one sale for $22,000 where I bought one of my own coins from myself. And then later I bought one for $24,000. So they're now $24,000 each. And the market cap will show that because it's the Phil coin and there's been a transaction. So now we know it's actually worth that. There was an actual case where a guy took like $5 million and $5 million worth of a cryptocurrency and bought a NFT that he had created from himself. And after the transaction was done, he still had the $5 million in cryptocurrency. And now he had an NFT that was theoretically worth $5 million because that was the price someone paid for it, him. And so he doubled his money by making a trade. And you look at stuff like that and you say, please tell me again why this is all legitimate. If that can happen.
Yeah.
It's just whack.
Even if it were, you know, what a lot of people claim it is, the ability to do something like that.
Yeah.
It's granted, I'm all in favor of, for the most part, something's worth what someone will pay for it.
Yeah.
Fine. I don't like when, you know, you're exploiting people, either their need, their health, you know, oh, is insulin worth what we're paying for it right now? Is Monjaro and my Jardiance, are they worth what we're being charged for them? When these are things that are keeping people alive, maybe we'll have a different conversation there. But if I've got you know, one of these Magic the Gathering cards that are in here, how much is it worth? Well, it's worth whatever people pay for it. And the only thing we can really do is go to sites and say, okay, they're currently tracking what people have paid, everything else. And there are cards, like I have a baseball card that might be worth some money. Who knows? And one of the things they do is they'll go to eBay and see what did the last one of these sell for here. And that's a good idea to find out what someone will pay for it, except that if I want to increase the price of it, I could put it up, have Phil buy it for X amount of money and give it back to me, or sell it back to somebody else, or sell it around in a circle. I get 4 or 5 people, and all of a sudden this particular card, which I have the only one of, well, it's probably not the only one of, but you know, that's manipulating market value. Yeah. So the market value has to be about what people are honestly willing to pay for it.
When it's funny now because people that have invested real money into the crypto ecosystem are now calling for regulation. Some of them are. And I was like, regulation? What do you need regulation for? That was the whole point of this, was to avoid regulation. Well, we want to make sure that it's actually stamped and certified by the government that it's legit. No, I don't think there should be regulation. I think it should just be flat out illegal. There's no value to it. I don't know. I'm just going to repeat myself, but it's a funny thing because when you talked about the trading your card to yourself, other researchers have come up with data that's showing that something like 80-90% of Bitcoin transactions are between people that hold huge volumes of Bitcoin transactions to try to keep the price afloat. Because if they all stopped selling back and forth to each other, the price would plummet. Is that true? Is it not? I don't know. But there's no way to regulate it. One of the things that's also true is that one of the big dreams of Bitcoin in particular is that the transactions are secret. Well, they're not. They're kind of sort of well hidden and might take some effort to figure out who you are, but they're not secret. And when someone or some government is motivated enough to figure out who's buying and who's selling, they can track you down. And thank goodness for that, because a ginormous international ring of people selling photos and videos of child abuse got busted because they were selling images and films with Bitcoins and didn't take any extra precautions to make it secret because it's Bitcoin, you can't track us. Well, they got tracked and they got found, and some weird things that have happened. You can follow the patterns, kind of like code breaking. And one of the things that they used that was really helpful, there were some people that were buying this child abuse videos, and the power happened to go out, and so they were out of business for a couple of hours. And so the United States government was able to look around the United States and say, where was power out between 8:05 a.m. local time and 10:07 a.m. also local time for 2 hours and X number of minutes? And poof, you can narrow down to this really small physical area by some kind of outside pieces of information. And so they found out that the guy who was trafficking in all of this had a giant server farm in his house. And they knew the area that he was in, so they had vans drive around the neighborhoods looking for heat signatures. And they found a house that was way too hot. It's either growing pot, breeding snakes, I don't know, crypto maybe. And they had this big international team of people raid this guy's house and collect all the hardware and everything. And the thing that was the most beautiful, in one of the trucks that pulled up on the site, they had duplicate hardware that they put back into his house, but they had all designed the racks and the equipment and just rolled it into his house, plugged it back into the electricity and hooked it back up to the internet, and then continued to buy and sell child abuse videos, because now they could easily track everybody that was doing it, and just picked up hundreds and hundreds of people around the globe. So
we got
yay for being secret.
We got full lines, and some of them want to talk about crypto stuff. So we're going to start here with Fat Man in Oregon. Pronouns are he, him. Welcome, Fat Man.
Hi, thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
Not a problem.
What I wanted to call about was, do you understand the concept behind how the crypto coins are created?
Is that for me, I guess?
Yeah.
Matt said no.
Either one of you.
Yeah, well,
I mean, so, what it comes down to is it's an algorithm. It's all encrypted, and it's mathematics. You're trying to basically you use a computer to figure out the mathematics that. That's how you mine your coins.
Does knowing that information make Bitcoin actually valuable, or do you just want to explain it because it's something to explain?
No. What I believe, whether you guys do or not, it doesn't matter. What I believe is that in the future we will be using at least a form of cryptocurrency, because of how secure it is. The problem.
But it's not secure. That's one of the falsehoods. It's secure. It's not secure. It's easy to use. It's not easy to use. You're talking about the mining. If anything, the process that has gone through for Bitcoin, not all cryptocurrency works this way, but for Bitcoin, is an environmental nightmare that we are propagating upon the planet for no real purpose whatsoever. It doesn't make it more valuable. If anything, Bitcoin, like I said earlier, Fat Man, I'm assuming you know that there's a limit on the size of a block that gets added to the Bitcoin blockchain. And the size of that block is a certain amount of data and a certain amount of transactions that can be performed in an average of 10 minutes at a time, because every 10 minutes is when the coins are awarded to a miner who cracked the mathematical code that you talked about. And so if there are more transactions in the world than can fit into a block, you have to wait. And sometimes during high volume, people are waiting days and days and days to transact in Bitcoin. So one of the ideas that it's quick and efficient, okay, that's not true either. But if you want to have your Bitcoin transaction go quickly, you can pay and jump to the front of the line. And so now you're rewarding rich people by being able to make transactions, where people that are poor have to wait days for transactions. Another thing that's the exact opposite of the theoretical benefit of something like Bitcoin. What else you got?
Well, I did not know about that. I did not know about being able to. I thought it was all a mathematical. I mean, it's how well your computer configure the.
So there is a mathematical algorithm that you have to solve and reverse engineer and match, and it takes a little bit of computer power at the beginning, but part of the Bitcoin blockchain code system process is that can only be solved once every 10 minutes. And so if one person's doing it, then it has to be really easy so that person can solve the puzzle, solve the math in 10 minutes. But if 10,000 people around the entire world are trying to solve it at the same time, you have to make the mathematical problem that you're solving, that you're reverse engineering, has to become more and more and more difficult, because as more people try to solve it, what you would have is, without an adjustment, it would get solved faster and faster. Well, Bitcoin, the rules for Bitcoin is that there's an additional amount of Bitcoins handed out to whoever solved the mathematical puzzle once every 10 minutes. So if there's a puzzle that's solved in 7 minutes, well, the next one has to be even harder to get the average back to 10. And so within that block, there's a certain data size limit. So there's only so many transactions that can happen. If more people try to solve the algorithm, it becomes harder. So it's like a dog chasing its tail, except for the dog is allowed to go faster and faster and faster and consume huge quantities of electricity while doing it. And people individually might benefit if someone sets up a server farm and uses the right kinds of chips. They could spend $500,000 in all this gear and $300,000 a year in electricity. But if they're making $400,000 a year, then it's kind of a profitable activity for them to do the mining. But it doesn't, it's just a lot of wasted energy. I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself, Fat Man. My apologies.
No. I mean, what you're saying is interesting. I don't fully understand it. I've tried, and my head hurt afterward. But one of the problems that I foresee coming up in the future is, have you ever heard of a quantum computer?
I'm aware of those words being put together. I don't know what that means. Matt might know more about that than I do.
Well, right now they're in experimental stages, but once they start getting them more usable, where more people can access a quantum computer, unless they do something with the algorithm for cryptocurrency, it's gonna be too solvable. People are going to be able to hack
I'll make one little adjustment to what you said, because people will freak out. When I'm talking about the blockchain for Bitcoin, that's specific to Bitcoin, because every single cryptocurrency can have different rules on how they operate. Bitcoin is the biggest by factor of 2 over Ethereum, and then it falls off from there very quickly. It's the one that has the 10-minute target for solving. But yeah, if computers become 100 times more powerful, then the riddle has to become 100 times harder. And so you're still going to consume huge amounts of electricity. Is it less or more? I don't know. But it's one of the things that drives this into the ground, is that block size is limited. And a couple of years ago, there was a schism, tying this into a religion, Matt, where different people that were involved with Bitcoin had the idea that we should increase the size of the block for each block that goes into the blockchain. And they created a new currency overnight called Bitcoin Cash. And so one day there was Bitcoin, the next day there was Bitcoin plus Bitcoin Cash.
Oh, wow.
And the really funny thing is that on the next day, if you added the two together, they were worth more than what Bitcoin was the day before. How does that happen? It doesn't, but it did, because it's all fantasy. And then you can have things like with Bitcoin, at least, you can have what's called a 51% attack. And most people now don't mine Bitcoin on their own because the cost is ridiculously high, and you might go months or years without being the one who solves the riddle. And if you don't solve the puzzle or the riddle, you don't get paid anything. So almost everybody joins up with a consortium. And at some point, it was believed that more than half of this was based in China. Now, that probably is not the case anymore because the Chinese government has made it really hard to mine Bitcoin. But these large groups, if you get enough groups that have enough what they call hash power or processing power, where they are running 51% of all the production of cryptocurrency, they can all vote together to change the rules of what Bitcoin is. That's how you got Bitcoin Cash. So people would say that can't happen. It already has happened. So, or at some point in the past, I can't remember which currency it was, someone hacked in and stole like 80% of all of a crypto coin. And so they said, okay, you know what? We've all voted. We're going to do a do-over, and we're going to reset everything back to where it was yesterday, because they can, because it's just a little teeny bit of code that controls what a cryptocurrency is. So if you control enough of the marketing of the hashtag power, you can vote, you can make things change, you can break the system, you can approve double billing, or I can't remember what the right phrase is. But there's safeties put in where you can't spend the same Bitcoins twice. But if someone has enough power, they can spend the same Bitcoins twice because they affect the ledger and say that they didn't. And now the entire system is undermined. And if that happens, if someone figures a workaround for that, where they can keep using the same Bitcoins over and over and over, in 24 hours, the whole thing's done. And what was $300 billion of Bitcoin becomes $5 worth of Bitcoin because no one wants it. And you can't even sell what you have.
So instead of going on about potential ways to break this, I'm gonna move us on here, Fat Man, because I got a bunch of other callers. I appreciate the call.
Okay, well, thank you so much for taking my call. Thank you, and I learned a lot. Thanks a lot.
Cheers. Yeah, I'm confused because I'm not sure how much I'm learning, because my brain there's some conceptual error at the foundation of this, and I'm a reasonably intelligent guy. There's still some little piece of it I'm missing. One of the things that made me go down the path of is crypto a religion, after being asked and being directed that, is the way that it's been selling, not the way that it works or what it does or anything else, but the way the devotees of crypto are evangelizing, proselytizing the value of their preferred crypto coin to other people. This is the marketing aspect of it that reminds me of religion, where it's like, because a currency is only going to increase in value if more people are involved to value it. If there was, your Phil coin, I'm sorry, isn't likely to be valuable to me or anybody else. But because there's going to need to be more people involved. If you had everybody on the planet involved in Bitcoin, then Bitcoin would just be the new universal currency. It would probably undermine, and governments would adopt it as well as their preferred currency instead, because that has everybody involved. And if you had everybody involved to where this was just being traded, well, we'd probably run out of energy trying to mine enough coins to actually, or we'd exploit all of our resources doing it. But it's the process of selling and evangelizing this that is weird to me, because what I don't hear people say, here's the evidence, here's the model that shows why this particular cryptocurrency is preferred or we should switch to it. What I hear is, I did it and I made money, or I've got investments in it and I've seen it grow, even though they didn't cash out. But like you've said before, they are always measuring it in dollars. And if the standard that you're constantly measuring it against is some other currency, why are you trying to sell this other thing?
I think that part of it, and that's part of the beauty of all of this, because you say, is it an investment? Well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Is it a currency? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Is it a religion? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. It's got all these features. I think in the way that you're talking about it, it's more like a multi-level marketing scheme. Where I've seen these things where 3,000 people show up in a ballroom, and the person on the stage is a motivational speaker telling you how they've made millions of dollars helping people start their own businesses. And you can start your own business, and all you got to do is sign up, and it's $495. And then you buy all these DVDs and you buy all these books, and you get your friends to sign up. And at some point, someone goes, well, how are you making money? Well, you make money just like me. You bring more people in just like me. You buy more books, you sell more books. And you're like, but how is the system on its whole making money? How does Bitcoin make any money?
At least with Amway, there was like a product. I mean, it was still a big old fucking scam, but at least there was some product. It's weird. This is, and somebody in chat mentioned Amway as well, but there's been several of those.
Yeah. It's Beanie Babies without the Beanie Babies.
It's Beanie Babies without the Beanie Babies. I have a special caller today who is the father of my niece whose birthday is tomorrow. So Brad Dillahunty, him from Missouri. Welcome, sir.
Hey, Brad.
Thank you.
What do you got for us?
Phil, actually, we haven't met yet, but it's nice meeting you virtually, so thank you.
Piacere. Pleasure to meet you.
It's all yours. Go for it.
Yep.
Okay, so first of all, thank you for actually having this topic, because I, as Matt may know, what you guys can do, you can Google my name. I've actually been in the financial environment for a long time, doing a lot of work, and part of my work is in cybersecurity and fraud, and touching on certain aspects of crypto along the way. And Phil and Matt are right in many different ways, and I wrote some stuff down, but I don't want to rehash a lot of the conversations. But what I wanted to call in and kind of address to Phil, as well as a supporting type of evidence without evidence, if you will, and an observation in the financial aspect, is that you have all of these social media influencers that are using certain aspects of LinkedIn, a lot of the other business networks, and they're basically putting out false information by showing spreadsheets and all kinds of interesting diagrams and line charts and so forth, saying this is how much money I've made. And then if it doesn't go their way and they lose money in the Bitcoin, they actually follow that back up saying, hey, I just earned $20,000. I just made another $50,000. And by them doing that, they are actually providing a mechanism. And it's very much to the point I believe it to be a Ponzi scheme in many ways, is saying, hey, let's bring in the people by providing the hope of having more money. It's much like the lottery. Whenever you're playing the lottery and saying, hey, your Powerball is at like $500 million, you just pay $2 and now you have a chance to earn more money. The same thing happens in NFT. They say, okay, if you buy this NFT, say if it's an image of Trump, or if it's in the art world, I think there was a news story about a child that actually put out some of their own art in NFT and made a shit ton of money in a very short period of time, but their art is no more than child's art that I would actually find on my kid's refrigerator. So my point is, when you have people that are millionaires that have actually are providing information to the public purposely in a false way, it does provide, Matt, to your point, where it is proselytizing them or vandalizing them into the world of what they want to do, because they're trying to raise their own market value. And in my experience in the fraud and cybersecurity environment, an enormous amount of fraud that's happening in the dark web that is actually used, and they're selling Bitcoin and they're selling all kinds of other things in order to provide services and or false information. And they're making millions of dollars, but there's no proof of that millions of dollars of the transactions that are actually being,
and it's like
the transactions that are happening.
You could make the analogy of a casino. Do some people walk out of the casino and have made millions? Of course they have. And they're the ones that get on the billboards. They're the ones that get all the press. By the way, Brad, since you kind of dipped your toe into it, I just want to make sure all the people who are watching and listening know I am an investment advisor representative. in the state of Florida, and my company, Polaris Financial Planning, is a registered investment advisor, registered with the U.S. government, SEC. And whenever I tell you those things, I have to tell you that that doesn't mean a fucking thing, but I'm supposed to tell you. So for Polaris to register with the SEC, it means I filled out a bunch of forms correctly, and that they don't put any stamp of approval or authentication that I know anything. But I just wanted to put that out there. But yeah, it is truly a fantastic thing, because who controls the narrative? Who controls the money? And as long as you try so desperately to have a decentralized thing that is centralized, but in the shadows, I think that's worse than our horrifically bad banking system or our real estate system in this country, because some people will take advantage of other people, and now they can do it behind a curtain, like the Wizard of Oz, and it's not out in public. Because quite honestly, maybe this would be the reason to actually declare that crypto coins are a security, like stocks and bonds, is that if you were to go on TV and promote a specific stock in a company, and you own shares, and either you intended or accidentally talk people into buying the stock that you already own so that the price would go up, and then you decide to sell it. There's a very specific name to that, Brad. You probably already know it. It's pump and dump. And it's very illegal. But that's what cryptocurrency does, because it's not regulated. They don't want to be regulated unless you've already made millions or have billions of dollars at stake. And those are the people who are crying, no, let's make this regulated. Let's make this legitimate, because I've won the crypto lottery and I don't want it to go poof. Because I have so much that, Elon hasn't helped his case by selling so many shares of Tesla. He's changed the supply and demand curve. The supply keeps growing and the demand isn't, so the price will fall. I don't know, but I hear you. And with crypto, the exchanges, first of all, you've just got blatant fraud like FTX. Then you have exchanges that work and they get robbed, allegedly. Now, is it an outside robbery, or is it espionage or embezzlement from the inside? Well, I don't know, because it's secret. And then one of the new things this year is theft of cryptocurrency on bridges. They didn't think to harden the transactions that go from one crypto exchange to another one. So people steal the crypto in transit. They can steal from your computer. They can steal from your hard drive. Then you can do a cold wallet where you have your own hard drive or thumb drive that's not connected 99% of the time, unless you want to make a transaction. But if you get a virus or a bit of code on there, or they were a big trick for a while was sending people free NFTs. And when they clicked on the NFT, or if they made the mistake of clicking on the free NFT that came to them in the email, the NFT actually packs a little bit of computer code. And so it becomes a Trojan horse that hacks into your wallet, held on your personal hard drive, and you get robbed by something that was sent to you for free. And unlike a bank, I mean, if I have money in a bank and that bank gets robbed, I'm covered. If I have coins in FTX and it goes poof, there's nothing. There's nothing to cover.
Exactly.
Go ahead,
exactly.
Brad.
And so, Phil, one of the things I want to actually, obviously is from an educational perspective, because I'm not really challenging anything that the two of you guys are talking about. But one of the things that I have seen in my experience in the financial sector as well, especially over the last 5 or 6 years, is the financial organizations themselves, whether it's an issuing bank, whether it's acquiring bank that actually deals with the merchants. You have PayFac, ISOs, and all kinds of gateways out there. And I know I'm using a lot of financial terms. However, the arena itself now is changing, because they were late to the game on crypto, because they poo-pooed it. They actually said it's all fake, it's all false. But then social media started influencing the point where these organizations issue acquires networks and so forth, whether it's MasterCard, Visa, American Express, Discover, and so forth. They were trying to monetize and get into this space as much as possible. And then with that, they're trying to bring in the regulations and so forth, and getting it more regulated and getting it more secure and safety. Now, Phil, I think at one point you brought up a point earlier in the conversation that around safety and security, about this is not a safe and secure environment, and it's really not. If anything, this is showing that people that are in this space that are not an influencer or that don't have a huge amount invested in this space, those guys are the ones that are actually just enjoying the play. Because in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, it's not an educated aspect, it's just what I've seen, is that the more money that you have and you can play in this space, the more of an influencer you can be. And that's what I've seen with Elon Musk. That's what I've seen with some past acquaintances of mine in this space. And I've dealt with a lot of very rich people in my career. And they're all jumping on that crypto bandwagon for the short period of time. But I know a lot of them that are dumping it as quick as they joined it. So it's very volatile.
There is definitely a case where a large number of people all around the world, but I know specifically in the United States, people that have been banned by the SEC or some other agency of the government for theft, conspiracy, stealing, embezzlement, whatever. They take what they've learned in those arenas that were regulated, and they went to jail or got fined, and they go over to crypto where there's no sheriff. And so it's kind of whatever you can get away with. And it's funny because one of the things about the theoretical $800 billion of cryptocurrency is that includes every coin that's ever been lost. It includes every coin that's been captured by a government. It includes every coin that someone threw away an old computer and had 5 coins on it. It includes every cryptocurrency available that had one transaction, and they take that price times the quantity of coins that were theoretically available. All of that is in the 800 billion. And so my position is that crypto is not anywhere near close to 800 billion at all. And it's just going to be a slow, gradual process over the years of people finding out that what they thought they had is completely worthless. It won't just go poof one day like I thought originally. It will just be the slow burn of just money disappearing from one person after another. And there will be people that get rich, but there's going to be a lot of people that lose a large amount of money, and they're not going to have any recourse to go back and get it.
Absolutely. And versus me taking over Matt's show, by the way, because I really don't want to take over my brother's show because I love him. And I appreciate the fact that, Matt, you allowed me to call in. I do want to basically just add the caveat saying that for those people that are listening and those people that are actually interested or think that they're interested in this space, I would just say caution what you're doing, guys. Just make sure you do your research. Make sure that you can have the disposable income in order to do it. It's just much like gambling. If you're going to go to a casino, if you're going to drop, $500 on X, Y, and Z or whatever you want to do, just make sure you have disposable income, because you are not going to get rich quick on this scenario. And I think Phil said it best earlier, is that trying to get in and actually either buy or actually mine the actual Bitcoin, it's very challenging. It is not something that people can easily do.
Excellent.
Well, on that note, you know what you need to do.
Call in more often?
No, you need to hang up on me. You need to do a no, you're done, and hang up on me.
Okay, so I'm going to do one better, because whoever the moderators for the line is told me I had to cuss. So I'm going to say, fuck off, Matt. I'm done. Goodbye.
There you go.
That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome.
Good stuff.
This is easier than I thought it was going to be, Matt. I'm sure there's some people that disagree, but you're just filtering them out, right?
There's other calls here, but Aldo has been waiting for a long time and actually came into my Twitch stream earlier, I think, if this is the same person.
Yes,
so yes. Aldo from Mexico, pronouns he, him, has some sort of hypothesis about God's existence. So welcome, sir.
Hey, hola, ¿cómo están? How you doing, Matt and Phil Ferguson?
Muy bien, sí, Phil, muy bien.
Excelente. Well, I was okay. I will speak with my regular voice, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I have my American accent and my Mexican accent, so okay. Hablo. Okay, so here's I go to the point, okay? What is your position or opinion to the hypothesis that God exists because the idea or concept of God exists, as this idea or concept makes people do things or act certain ways?
That's like saying that Harry Potter exists because
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
concept the concept exists and people do things on behalf of Harry Potter. It's nonsense. That doesn't mean Harry Potter exists.
Okay, good. Okay, excellent, excellent. Do you want to say something else about it, or just that?
No. No.
Yeah, I think
Excellent. Okay, excellent. Thank you.
That's
you
it?
bet.
Yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you. Why? Because this is um, by being a non-believer, and it's thank you, and you put agnostic color. Well, I'm not an agnostic color. I am a gnostic color. It's the biggest problem of this is when you tell your ideas to other people, the other people have their own ideas, and they confuse truth with their own opinions. So I don't know. This happens to kids. Don't you? I don't know if you have this. You know, there's this kid that is a badass at karate in his school, and then he goes to the nationals and he gets his ass kicked, and
Yeah.
they cannot whatchamacallit, they cannot accept that they lost. Oh, thank you. They changed it to Gnostic color. Excellent. And you see, and that's why does every person that comes representing their God, they're always very aggressive, and why they always, if you don't give them their way, they want to tear you apart. It's I don't know.
I'm more confused. I'm more confused now that you've identified yourself as Gnostic. Gnostic about what?
Yeah.
God?
Oh, thank you. Okay, thank you for putting that out. Okay, the thing is that I've know it's okay. Okay, now now it's coming the American accent. Okay, so it's been very hard for me, a lot, very hard, by not being a believer. For example, my first encounter with with atheism was. Do you remember the Twilight Zone episode about the guy that took souls to hell? This dude,
No.
there was this character that he was being taken to hell, and he was an atheist, and he made his case. You know, I'm a very good person. I'm a loving father. I pay my taxes. I do all this, and I respect others. And just because that God is taking me to hell, man, what the fuck? And this is I was like 10 or like 12, dude, and I was like, yeah, really, isn't that the whole purpose? Just to be a good person, a good citizen, pay your taxes, be a good neighbor, and all that shit.
I'm confused. I was asking, you identify as Gnostic, and I asked what Gnostic about what? About God? What is it that you know?
Oh yeah, the bullshit.
So you're
all the
claiming to
bullshit.
know. You're claiming to know that there is no God.
Yes, but I wanted to listen to your answer.
How can you demonstrate? You see, it seems to me you're claiming that you falsified something, and to a high enough degree to count as knowledge, that is ultimately unfalsifiable. So
yeah, that's what the church does.
no, maybe
Yeah,
we're missing
it
something.
confuses you. You
If
see
you
what
say
happens?
no,
It
no,
confuses
stop,
you.
Aldo, stop. I'm saying,
Yes, I
how
thought.
can you know that there is no God? I don't know that. I'm not aware of anybody who does know it. You seem to be in a position where you're claiming to know something, and I don't know how you know it.
Yeah, I know. You just. I will answer this. When I was a kid, I didn't know that black people were at some point were slaves, and it broke my heart. God
What the hell
allowed
does
that.
that have to? What does that have to do with knowing there is no God?
No, it's good because then you can go on and you can do whatever
I'm afraid.
you need to
I'm
do.
afraid there's a language problem here where you're not understanding what I'm saying. You claim to be Gnostic, and you claim to be a Gnostic atheist. So you're claiming to know that there is no God, and I'm asking you, how can you possibly know that?
Oh, okay. okay. Why did I become first? Why did I become an atheist at one point in my life?
No,
Right?
that's
It's
not what
because
I'm asking.
okay.
I'm an
Okay.
atheist. I'm an atheist. I do not know that
Okay.
that there is no God. I just don't believe there's a God. You're
Oh,
claiming
I
to
understand
know.
that there
You're
is no
claiming to
God. No, the
know. You're
uncertainty. I
claiming
know
to
the
know that
uncertainty
there
of it.
is no God. How do you know that there is no God?
Oh, that's a good one. Okay, here we go. How do I know that
I think it's
there
language,
is
Matt,
no God?
and,
Okay,
and
okay.
Aldo's a great
It's
guy.
my in my own experience. In my own experience, I've asked God and never returned my calls.
Doesn't matter.
I
It doesn't matter.
I talked to the
It
representatives
doesn't matter.
and they never.
Everything you're saying now is a logical fallacy, Aldo. The fact that you
That God is
asked God
you
and God didn't reply to
maybe
you
you.
doesn't stop talking.
Yeah, I
The
will stop
fact
talking.
here, I'll help you. Now you can talk all you want because you're muted. What I'm trying to say is, if when I ask you, how do you know that there is no God? You started with basically, I kept asking God and I got no reply. But that's like if you called me on the phone and I don't answer, that doesn't prove that I don't exist. I'm wondering, how did you prove that God does not exist?
Holy shit, that's a good one. Okay.
Well, all right, then I'm going to let you go and you think about it because you're the one that's
Thank you.
identifying as Gnostic. And if you haven't
Muchas
thought about it
gracias.
enough, call back in another time when you've thought about it enough.
Buenas noches, Aldo.
All right. We got a couple more calls. I don't know how they're going to go or whatever else, but I think maybe we can
Sure. Try it.
get through some of them pretty quickly. We have Michael in California. Pronouns are he,
quick.
him. Has some statement about my thoughts on money being fiction or whatever. Hey, Michael, how can I help?
Hey, man, Bill, long time listener to y'all. I guess my question to kind of like, I guess hone in on it was, have you ever read the book *Sapiens*?
I know about the book. I haven't read it.
Oh, because like so a lot of the things that you
Actually,
said earlier, Matt.
I did read that book. Go ahead.
Yeah. So like one of the things he talked about how like humans have been like super successful like through our evolutionary history has been like due to us like creating fiction, like creating things that don't really exist, but then they have utility. So like, and one of those things that he talked about besides religion was like money. And I kind of wanted your thoughts about that as well. How like not everyone believes in God, but everyone believes in money. You know, like, and it's
I'm not sure that's
money
allowed,
either.
like
money is essentially. It's not that money is true. It's that the value of it is because we imbue it with that. And so
Yeah.
I have something, whether it's this cell phone. Sure, I have this cell phone. It has some value to me. If I want to sell it to somebody else, or if I want to trade it to somebody else, they would have to give me something of equal or greater value in order for me to give this up. And that's the way you get to the barter system of I'll give you 25,000 fresh eggs for this cell phone. And now this cell phone is worth 25,000 fresh eggs. But that's clumsy because you can't carry around a cell phone and eggs and you know all this other stuff. So we create a money system that serves as a substitute. It could be as simple as an IOU. I owe you 25,000 eggs, but we standardize it. And so we've standardized it by creating essentially a fiat money system.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you can't see that. But anyway, we create a fiat money system and we are, but now I can't think and I've lost track of what the fuck I was talking about. In any case, that's what I think, I suppose, Michael, is that yes, it's more like a metaphor in that it has value because we say it has value, but that doesn't mean it's not real. The value we're creating is real.
Yeah, and that's where I guess some things that you said earlier kind of reminded me of that, because when you're saying how like I agree with you. Like every single time someone talks to me about crypto, it's like, well, you have to believe in this one. You got to believe in this one. You got to believe in this one. And the more people believe in it, the more value it has.
Religion. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, I kind of like, and then, yeah. And then you jumpstart, you know, obviously, like, if you look at, like, money today, right? Like, we have an understanding that our money, obviously, we have, like, economic systems and things like that. But, like, you know, when people or kids or anybody, because I'm a teacher, so, like, when they, you know, ask, like, oh, yeah, like, you ask those questions, like, what is this piece of paper actually, like, why is it valuable? You know, like, they're very curious about that. And it makes you wonder as well, like, how can I best explain this to a young person? Because we believe it has value. And then we have many times in history where those pieces of money don't, or they lose their value.
The placeholder for something that does have value. The difference between this and like a God thing is that's nobody thinks that God, and nobody recognizes if they're a believer in a God. They don't think it's a placeholder for something. Maybe there are people who have like metaphorical God, where God is the metaphor for the human spirit or our perceived interconnectedness. But money is a placeholder for something that is real. It is a shortcut, just in the same way that, you know, hey, if I give you an IOU, that IOU, I mean, it's a piece of paper with ink on it, but its value is that it's a specific piece of paper that you can then give back to me to get whatever it is that I owe you.
So then, is that essentially what crypto is trying to be? It's trying to be another placeholder, like, in terms of it's representative of.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. And it's funny because one of the funny things why I've taken the position that Bitcoin could be considered a currency, a really, really shitty currency, as we've seen within the last 12 months, when inflation in the United States goes from the traditional 1 to 2 to 3% up to 7, 8, 9%, people flip the fuck out. But it makes a currency very, very bad to use if its price fluctuates a lot. And Bitcoin fluctuates a lot. And so if I want to buy a pizza with Bitcoin, I don't want to buy a pizza with Bitcoin because I'm an investor in Bitcoin and it's going to go up in value. I'd be an idiot to buy pizza with Bitcoin. So it's not a very good thing to use. The person that is selling the pizza doesn't really want to accept Bitcoin because it could go down even more. And so the money they thought they were going to get from selling the pizza to you in Bitcoin is not realized, and they could make or lose more money on the currency transaction than on any margin that they're making on the pizza. And so they're no longer really in the pizza business. They're in the cryptocurrency business because it's all about timing and when do I buy and sell cryptocurrencies. And so when a currency has a high volatility, it becomes less and less useful. So when Bitcoin goes from 64,000 to 16,000 in a year, any argument that it's a useful currency, I think, is misguided. You can stretch the definitions and say it's still a currency, but it's a shitty currency. You can't count on it. You can't rely on it. And so that's one of the things that was talked about. It's going to be a better currency than the US dollar. It's not. And then people say it's going to be an investment, but it's not. I often will hear someone say, putting money into crypto is like putting money into the stock market. It could go up, it could go down. It's all a gamble. When someone says something like that to me, what I hear is, I don't know anything about cryptocurrency and I don't know anything about the stock market. Okay, cool. Because we buy stocks as investments because they're representations of a piece of that company that has things that it outputs that are of greater value than it inputs. And it creates value. It creates wealth. Now, you could argue that some companies don't do that and they're fraudulent. Of course they are. But we do have a system to audit them. There are rules they have to follow. There's taxes and there's documents they have to file. And if they lie about those, people can go to jail. Well, cryptocurrency doesn't have any of that. It doesn't make anything. It doesn't create value. It doesn't produce value. And like I said, probably an hour and a half ago, there is absolutely no increase in utility of Bitcoin if the price goes from 16,000 to 64,000, it's still just as useful or still just as unuseful. The price is irrelevant to its functionality. But I don't know. But Michael,
we got to move on, Michael. I hope that helped.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks.
Thank you.
It was useful. Thanks. And today's final caller, who's been waiting for a good half an hour, is Will in Austin. Hey, Will.
Hi, Matt. Hi, Phil. Thanks a lot for taking my call.
Sure.
I wanted to first apologize for saying it sounds like Phil doesn't know what an NFT is in the chat, and then deleting my message a few moments later. If you happen to see it, I sincerely apologize.
It's tricky. I'm not sure I do understand it, but go ahead.
So the title or the text that I put in was something similar to, I think it's a mistake to lump all NFTs, what an NFT can be, into just, you can take a screenshot of this, because we know, for example, that apps and games and in-game currency and skins and things like that are all kinds of things that can be represented as an NFT. And once they are, they can be traded with other people within a marketplace and not lose all of their value right out of the gate. And so that was one part that I wanted to point out, that it's not just JPEGs, they're not just images. And then, of course, I was really thankful to hear all of the issues that you saw with these coins earlier and the systems, because you're absolutely right. We know that Bitcoin is a huge energy hog. But we also know that the second most common currency that you mentioned earlier, Ethereum, which apparently is a kind of technology where you can build on it in layers, and some companies have built what they call layer 2 technology that combines a bunch of transactions into a group. So that's being done on layer 2 to reduce the number of transactions that go through. And then on layer 1, Ethereum, to my understanding, recently completed a 99% energy reduction. And so I look at those things and I think those are a couple of the major misunderstandings that seem to be out there with just grouping and losing this nuance of an NFT is really supposed to be a proof of purchase rather than just a link to an image or whatever.
Fair enough.
Thanks for taking my call, by the way.
Thanks, Will.
Sure, thanks. All right.
It was funny. He brought up Ethereum. Ethereum went from proof of work, which is one of the foundational things behind Bitcoin. That's why you have to do all that work. That's why you have to spend all the energy, because that theoretically makes anyone available to do it if they just do the work. Ethereum went from proof of work to ownership stake, which, if you're a Bitcoin purist, you would now have to loathe Ethereum, I think, because it's the exact opposite of what you were trying to promote. So you don't have to do the work anymore to get it. You just have to be in the right place at the right time and get the contract. But I don't know. I'm just babbling now. That's enough.
Well, you don't have to babble. You could Tower of Babel. And
oh my goodness. I just worry about the average investor when someone says to me something like, I only invest money I can afford to lose. Now, when an individual person says that, I have no idea how much money they have or don't have, but I'm doing okay. And I still cannot wrap my head around the idea of having money that I can afford to lose. What the fuck is that? I could spend money on a show, or, you could spend money on snakes. You can spend money on drugs and enjoy that. But just money that I can afford to lose, money that I can just light on fire if it doesn't go my way. Nope. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, you can spend on anything. You're right. You can, in fact, spend on anything. I keep coming back to this because I really wanted to, is crypto a religion? No, it's not a religion. But it could be, and you could certainly build a religion around it. And
yes,
we spend a lot of time doing things to promote the things we care about. You and I do it. Everybody I know does it. We have an investment into the things that we care most about, irrespective of what their value is to somebody else. And we are constantly trying to get other people to recognize this and hopefully build connections where they value what we value. Because if you value me and I value you, and we together value LGBT rights, or we together value Magic the Gathering cards, or we together value Ethereum, then now it seems more real than it did when it was just me that was valuing it. And I see this all the time. There's this judgmental thing of, oh, your kink's not my kink, or your hobby's not my hobby, but it's valid and all that. There are aspects of this that I know lead people to conclude, oh, well, this is a religion, or this is like a religion. And you're not wrong that it is like a religion. And so is football. So is the World Cup. I don't give a shit about the World Cup. Congratulations to Argentina. I wouldn't even have known what happened if it weren't for the fact that Johnny was visiting me and sat on the couch and said, here's what happened at the end of World Cup stuff. Because I just don't care. We have built a world where we have a mix of things that are tangible, and because we value them, we want to do the intangible and give that value. And that's where I think some people come to this notion that crypto or NFT or any of those things are religions. I don't think they count as religions in my head, but I don't think it would take a lot of effort to make them religion-like. I think that when we look back at how different religions formed, every single one of them was, like everything else in our life, about someone valuing something and getting someone else to value it too. I don't know. That's how the world works. What's my house worth? What's your house worth? What's this worth? This is how we measure things. It's how we connect with each other. And we do it not just always with what's the dollar value of this, but hey, what do you do for a living? Because that determines how valuable you are to me. What degrees do you have? That determines how valuable you are to somebody else. I had somebody come on and basically was like, oh, Matt isn't credentialed at all, which means he's not educated, as if being educated and being credentialed were remotely the same thing. I mean, if we were talking about, crypto and finances and stuff like that, then I'm woefully uneducated. If you want to talk about the Bible and religion and philosophy and logical fallacies and, how to do a podcast, I'm well educated on those things, despite not having credentials. I appreciate you coming on and talk about this. We got some super chats to get to if Jimmy wants to cue this up. Normally we alternate.
That's not the right first one.
Yeah, I'm not going to read that one. Fuck that Jimmy Snow guy. Normally we alternate. I didn't know, since we've gone a full 90 minutes already, if you needed to leave or if you were going to stay for the super chats and read them with us. Cool.
I'm good. Well,
then you go first and I'll go second, and we'll try and alternate.
1999 from Greg Markowski. Is that the Monsters Inc. Markowski? Is that?
I don't know.
Mike Lebowski.
Mike Lebowski.
Okay.
Yes.
Not even close. Thanks. Getting to watch live this week. Thanks for the show. Glad I got to see Phil live. Woo! Wow, it was a great one. Matt, no one ever did call and tell me I said everything wrong.
You said everything wrong.
Yeah,
thanks.
Somebody's going to say it.
I've been finishing a wood project while you've been doing the show, so I don't actually know what you said. However,
hey, now I don't need to hear about your wood projects here.
Yeah, I was going to say, a wood project, is that what we call that now?
I was lubricating my wood. That's true.
Yeah, oiled up.
Mm-hmm.
Well played.
Varnished.
The other shows have started having me read them, and yet I know that won't happen on this show.
You can read them if you want. I'll leave.
I don't really care.
$10 Canadian from Aaron. One of Canada's conservative leaders' nicknames. Conservative leaders' nicknames is Bitcoin Millhouse because he promoted Bitcoin just before a large drop in price and because he looks like the Simpsons character.
Oh, man.
That's rough. I mean, I can imagine any number of people have made some really bad investments and bought into stuff. And I think one of the things with Bitcoin or crypto or NFTs or anything else is that people have this hope that they're going to get on the ground floor of something. There were a lot of people who, by the way, when COVID started breeding ball pythons. And the market's done pretty well despite, recessions and other things related to the pandemic. But now there's a bunch of people getting out of it right when I'm getting into it or back into it. Brad said he called in to correct everything you said. But all it does is it means that I now get to do stuff and buy stuff on the cheap because there's people who are getting out of it. There are good investments and bad investments, and it isn't always easy to see which ones it. I could lose everything tomorrow. I hope I don't. I don't think I will. But hey, I got those Magic the Gathering cards that at least get me dinner.
With crypto, is it as much getting in on the ground floor or getting on at the top of the pyramid?
You know, I think it can be both or either. And like I said, the greater fool theory, it doesn't matter what you pay for any specific token, as long as you can sell it for more than you paid for it. Yeah. And I did look up Grimace coin while we were talking. It originally started at something like $8 a coin. There's a maximum supply of 1 million. So that theoretical value is $8 million. But based on the recent transactions, its current market cap is $400,000. So it's gone from 8 million to 400,000. It's lost 95% of its value. And that 400,000 is left. And of course, someone launched that and put out for sale 1 million tokens and made something like $8 or less on each token. Where'd that money go? We don't know. It's not regulated. Just went poof.
Well, after the first of the year, anyway, let's go on. Let's do more super chats. Thank you so much, Aaron. I appreciate it.
$10 from Diane. Upshaw, thanks for all the show. That is all. Well, there you go.
There we go.
That was easy. Yeah.
We do need way more super chats, people. Otherwise, we have to sell the show to G-Man. So get your super chats in. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. We don't want to sell the show to G-Man. 999 from Let's Tell New Gamers to hit the chickens on Zelda. I don't know. But mapping a narrator for Psycho Stick's song would be the stuff of legends. If you don't know who Psycho Stick is, look them up. Comedy and metal is the perfect mix.
All right. You got a homework assignment, dude.
I think I disagree that comedy and metal is the perfect mix, because while I enjoy some metal, I have yet to understand what they're saying without looking up the lyrics.
Maybe that's the point. Okay. You're ruining it.
The best jokes are the ones you don't understand, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. Like Emperor's New Clothes.
Why did a chicken cross the road?
If you just were a little smarter, you'd see the value of Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't think I want to be that smart.
$10 from Larry Fiskman. Phil is obviously an intelligent person. Uh-oh. I haven't even read but I'm ready. Why did he go into the parasitic financial industry instead of something beneficial to the human species? Okay, all right. I respect where you're going, Larry. It's funny because I got into the investment industry by accident. When I came back from my first year of college, my dad sat me down and wanted to show me how investments worked. And it was one of those things. He's like, if I get hit by the proverbial truck, I know that you can take care of your brothers and mom, his wife, my mom. And I was like, okay, cool. Because I grew up in junior high and high school knowing that my dad was a stock picking genius. I mean, he hit some big winners. And when we sat down, he started showing me stuff. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, what's this? And he goes, oh, that lost 98% of its value. I don't remember that story at the dinner table.
Yeah,
because nobody tells those stories, right? It's the fisherman. It's the we remember the hits and forget the misses. And it turns out that he was underperforming the market by several points, which I've since learned is the norm for the average investor. And he had one investment that was doing really well, and this was back in mid '80s. It was the S&P 500 index fund from Vanguard. He was one of the very early investors in that, just by coincidence. And so it struck me with this idea: how does one make money? How does that work? The idea that I could make money from money versus physical labor sounded pretty fucking sexy, I'll have to admit. And so, over the years, I just learned more and more and more. And then people would ask me questions. I'd answer the questions. And one day, something close to 25 years ago, one of my coworkers, when I worked in downtown Chicago, said, hey, Phil, you're helping me so much with this stuff. can I just pay you instead of the broker I have? And I was like, no, I don't even know how that would work. Don't worry about it. Well, when I got to like the third or the fourth person that told me they wanted to hand me money, I thought, okay, well, I'll get a license. I'll go through the steps in the process. I studied for what's called the Series 7 broker's license and contacted the state of Illinois where I lived at the time and said that I'm ready to take this test. And they said, who's your sponsor? What do you mean sponsor? Well, you have to have a broker dealer sponsor you to become a broker. Who is your sponsor? I was like, wait a minute. The people in the industry control who can get into the industry? Wow. I did not know that. So I was like, no one's going to approve me because I'm not going to work for them. I just want to help my friends out. And they said, well, you could get a Series 65 license then, start a company, become a registered investment advisor. I was like, oh, well, why doesn't everyone do that? Well, no one wants to do the Series 65 because if you get the Series 65, you also have to tell everybody and you have to actually be a fiduciary and you have to do what's in the best interest of the client. And I thought, well, isn't that what everybody does? So I started so naive and so ignorant. If I knew a fraction of what I know now, I probably would have never started my business. The mistakes that I've made, the ignorant things that I've done, the naive things that I've done, it's absolutely staggering. And now 25 years later, I'm still learning new stuff. And I'm hoping that the primary thing that I do with my podcast, the Phil Ferguson Show, is I think of myself as a bit of a consumer advocate, and that's kind of how I ended up on this specific topic of cryptocurrency, trying to stop people from screwing themselves and trying to stop, Matt, we talked about a little bit about these get-rich-quick schemes, and the phrase I talk about, have you ever met someone who's always trying to strike it rich? Did you notice? They're always trying. If it worked, they wouldn't have to try a second time or a fifth time or a 20th time. Almost all of those schemes blow up in your face. And what I do is I provide really boring, painfully slow investment advice. Save more money, wait more time, don't do anything stupid. If you follow some of the basic ideas that I lay out in my show, if you have enough time and you are willing to put forth enough money, you will be rich. It just may take a while. It's not quick.
It may take more than the lifetime that I have. It's part of the problem.
Well, it is very heartbreaking for me to get contacted by somebody, let's say they're 57, and they said, I had 4 kids and I paid all 4 of their college bills 100% of all 4 years. And now that my youngest kid has graduated from college, I'm 57, I'm ready to start saving for retirement. And I want to retire at the age of 62. And I'm like,
wow. I know what to say to that guy.
Yeah.
You need to go to those 4 kids and say, I paid for your college. It's time for you to fucking take care of me.
You know, what the other thing I tell people sometimes, just because of the other work that I do with atheism, is I tell them, what do you think of the power of prayer? That might be your only out at this point. I don't know. It's really tough if you spent your entire life. It's just like the well-known fact that something like 85% of all people that win $1 million or more on a state lottery file bankruptcy within 5 years. Because if you have no idea how money works or how to handle money, giving you a whole bunch of it, it's still going to disappear because you don't know what to do with it. Anyway, I'm rambling. Sorry, Matt.
Thanks, Larry. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Larry.
Can every super chat come with an insider stock tip?
Yeah. You know, it's funny because I've only ever in 25 years, maybe like 15 years on doing podcasts and stuff, I've only twice ever told people to sell a stock. One was Netflix and one was Tesla. So my track record on not picking.
You could have told us that before we had you on the show. Just kidding.
Well, if you had been listening to my show 2 years ago, you would have heard it then.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Because $10 from those companies. Go ahead.
$10 from Eddie Alive. Awesome show, guys. Thanks so much, Eddie.
Thank you, Eddie.
Let me do this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
$10 from Mr. Monster. Have any of you guys heard of Hyperionism? And do you think their leader runs a cult? Some of the top members left are speaking out. Yeah, I've heard of it. Yes, I think it's a cult. I think it's a particularly stupid one since it's anti-science and it's a bunch of quantum evolution, double speak, mumbo jumbo crap. I don't know the details of the actual cult stuff in there, and I didn't know that there were top members who left and are speaking out. But I'm only passingly interested in what they might say, because this was as obvious a load of crap as Mormonism, and that took off. So
I've got a slightly different answer, Matt. I have no fucking idea, and I'm okay with that. Never heard of it. I'm okay with that.
No Hyperianism for me.
Only two more. I was just saying, only two more super chats, unless people get it in. And Lauren Boebert has expressed interest in buying the show, so get him in, because I don't want to have to sell it to Lauren Boebert either.
I'll grab this one. $9.99 from Brian. Oh, I guess it's Brian Pooh, KC. Heard that Jimmy needs bagels. Here you go.
I told them to buy me bagels.
Okay. Well, there you go. I'm glad
you told people that. See, that's one thing I don't normally do. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy for all of you who are, contributing, and I need super chats. But I don't sit here and go, "Oh, I need bagels." See,
I need bagels.
I have a bagel. I have one. Matter of fact, now I'm going to go downstairs and eat the last bagel. Anyway, thanks, Brent Pooh.
I'm trying to run a company here, and the company needs more bagels.
Yeah,
that's true.
You need some fiat currency to go buy bagels.
Last one, unless you extend the show.
Yep. $10 Canadian from Keithman3. Hi, Phil. Any tips, suggestions for a 20-year-old student looking into getting into investing? Index funds like S&P that you mentioned seemed interesting to me.
Yeah, if you learn only one thing from this entire 2-hour debacle, index funds, figure out what that is. But honestly, I do have a list of 4 books that, if Matt will indulge me, I'm going to list them. So get out your paper. Kids, rewatch the show. Matt gets more views that way, and he makes more money anyway. So rewatch the whole show. But the 4 books: 1, The Richest Man in Babylon. Really old book. I like really old books because it's not a new fad. Richest Man in Babylon. I think you can even watch it for free. Someone read it on YouTube because it's really old, like 100 years old, kind of old. So it's free. The next one is called A Random Walk Down Wall Street. And then the third one is Winning the Loser's Game. And those two are both, I think, either from the late 60s or early 70s, although they're regularly updated. So you want to get a regular, and these stack on each other. So the first one is How Does One Invest Theoretically? The second one, A Random Walk Down Wall Street, will teach you a lot of the verbiage and the language. Winning the Loser's Game digs into index funds and why they work and why that's an important part of your portfolio, or could be. And then the fourth book, Common Sense on Mutual Funds by John C. Bogle. And he actually did that intentionally with the title as an homage to Thomas Paine, Common Sense. So it's Common Sense on Mutual Funds. But if you have not read the other 3 books, reading that 4th book is probably not going to be a productive use of your time. You should treat it like a textbook. And if you spend a year or 2, or if you're 20, spend 2 or 3 years going through this stuff. You've got your whole life to invest. But reading those books will phenomenally help you understand how it all works.
Whew. All right. Let me put a bow on this because I didn't see any other super chats come in.
No.
What's wrong with you guys? Didn't you listen to Jimmy when we said super chats? No.
We got to close down the factory, everybody.
We're going to have to shut it all down. And that's too bad, because tomorrow, Katie and Ben, we're going to do an episode of Transatlantic Call-In Show. On Monday, Forrest is going to do an episode of Skeptalk. And Sunday, let's keep the shop open a little bit, because on Sunday, Jimmy and I, along with some other guests, will be doing a Christmas marathon show from 3 to 9 p.m. We're planning on sitting here for 6 hours. You might see me play games. You might be able to put up your super chats then as Christmas presents. You can call in and ask questions. We might do some fun stuff. You might be able to challenge me at something. I don't know, maybe a chess game. I don't think we're probably going to do Valorant on stream. What's that?
When is that again?
Christmas.
What's the date and time?
Yeah.
Sunday?
Sunday at 3.
Sunday.
December 26th, the day after Christmas.
You might see me polish my wood.
Is Christmas on Sunday or Saturday?
Christmas is Saturday.
Okay.
We're doing it the day after Christmas. Or no, wait. Christmas is Sunday. Sorry.
Yeah, we're doing
Christmas is Sunday. It's Christmas Day. It's the 25th. There we go.
Okay.
I got confused because I was supposed to be doing something on Saturday, and so now somebody's like, Matt, do magic? Sure, I can do all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, today we did this. Tomorrow, Transatlantic Call-In show, Katie and Ben. That's going to be awesome. Get your calls in before Christmas so that you can be prepared. If you know that you're going to go hang out and visit your family and there's a bunch of transphobes in there, you should probably tune in tomorrow and call in and ask questions about what you can be armed with to better have conversations with your shitty family members who are, MAGA hat wearing. What's the definition of a woman? By the way, I have a new definition of a woman because somebody came on my Twitch stream today and said something absolutely awful about a trans person. Just out of the blue, nothing. It's their obsession. And my new definition of a woman is someone who would never do that, because it's always a fucking dude that comes in to brag about their transphobic crap. But we got TACIS tomorrow with Katie and Ben. On Monday, tune in for Forrest on Skeptalk. But on Sunday, 6 hours, 3 to 9 p.m. Central, we're going to be on here doing all kinds of Christmassy stuff. And we'll even say, I'll say Merry Christmas. Somebody else might say Happy Holidays, but we're going to have fun and do some stuff. And we look forward to hanging out with all you. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in tonight. We will see you. And if you can't be here this weekend, please have a safe weekend, holiday, however you're going to celebrate it. Thanks to Phil for coming by today and for my brother calling in.
Yes.
I'll see you next time.
Great job. Thanks, Matt.